The subject of today's talk is, are Indian tribals Hindus? Now this subject is very important because tribals constitute a very important part of India's population, and they are referred to as Adivasis in official language. This is very significant because the word means aboriginals. Now as we know, when the Europeans entered America and Australia and colonized those places, so that today what we call Americans and Australians are actually Europeans who have been settled there since the last 200-300 years. And the original inhabitants of those areas are known as aboriginals. So this Adivasi is a word which was coined as an exact translation of that word. It is a very new and modern word. So the whole concept is that the tribal people of India are also aboriginals in the same sense that the Red Indians or the American Indians are aboriginals in America, or the Australian aboriginals are aboriginals in Australia. And this specifically means, in the same sense, that the non-tribal people are not natives of the people, they are natives of the country. They are people who have come from outside. So the very word Adivasi, used only for a section of the people, automatically implies that others are not natives. Now, to contrast this, some people have coined the word Vanavasis, which is also quite appropriate, but not completely appropriate, because there are sections of tribals, for example, who live in coastal villages. Even fishermen are counted among the tribals, and in mountains. So the word Adivasi, if used in a particular restrictive sense, means they are the original inhabitants of the particular areas that they are inhabiting. For example, certain tribal areas are there, and that I think assumes importance in the present context, because there are attempts to, this is my opinion, in the name of development, to usurp the tribal lands and give them over to developers and all that. So for that purpose, the word Adivasi is correct, because while the rest of the population may have been shifting all over the country since centuries, the tribals are people who have resided in that particular spot for maybe millenniums. So in that sense, it's only the word Adivasi would be appropriate. But the way it is used to define tribals as such is completely wrong. So we will leave that aside. That the politics of this comes behind. What is the reason for the politics behind this? This is because it is a part of the strategy of what has come to be known as the Breaking India Forces, a phrase popularized by Rajiv Malhotra ji, and which has become now a term for all these people who want to break India into different parts. And breaking the tribals away from the rest of Indian society is one important part of that strategy. So the question is, are they Hindus or not? Let us see what the constitution itself has to say. According to the constitution, who is a Hindu? It defines 3 categories of Hindus. One is any person who is a Hindu by religion in any of its forms and developments, including a Veera Shaiva, a Lingayat, or a follower of the Brahmo, Prarthana, or Arya Samaj. Now this is very important in the present context in Karnataka, for example, Veera Shaiva or Lingayat. Second category is any person who is a Buddhist, Jain, or Sikh by religion. And the third category is any other person domiciled in the territories to which this act extends, who is not a Muslim, Christian, Parsi, or Jew. So it specifies who are not Hindus. The persons who are not Hindus are Muslims, Christians, Parsis, or Jews. Apart from them, all other people in India are Hindus. Now, of course, there can be some people, for example, people who follow the Shinto religion. If there are Japanese immigrants in India or immigrants from outside, from some other country, for example, Confucians, maybe from Chinese speaking Confucians, but they obviously do not come under this discussion because they are obviously foreigners staying in India, just as we could be staying, Hindus could be staying in some other country. So this basically applies to all people of Indian origin who are residing in India. Now this is very clear. What does this mean? First, Hindu category 1 These are the full-fledged Hindus, and it includes members of sects having antecedents traceable to mainline Hindu religious texts or individuals. A person who started that sect was a Hindu, and he started that as a variant form of belief. So those are all classified as Hindus. This includes, as I said, Veerashaivas and Lingayats as per the constitution. Secondly, there are two, this second category consists of Buddhists, Jains and Sikhs. Now these are people belonging to religions founded by Hindu individuals. That is, the Buddha, Mahavir and Guru Nanak were all, or Guru Gobind Singh, depending on who is supposed to have founded Sikhism as it is today. All of them were Hindus. In fact, when Guru Gobind Singh founded the Khalsa, he is supposed to have declared that it was meant for the protection of the Hindu religion. And he called it a sect which is formed for the protection of Hindu religion. Although modern day politics has taken a different turn. But in the course of history, all these three came to acquire a more distinctive religious identity. So we do refer to Buddhism, Jainism and Sikhism as different religions. But they belong to the category Hindus category 2. And finally you come to Hindus category 3, which means all others who are not declaredly Hindus, Buddhists, Jains and Sikhs, but who are also not Muslims, Christians, Parsis and Jews. So all of them are Hindus. Now even among those who non-Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Parsis and Jews, that we can recognize actually two categories. Jews and Parsis are people who were never Hindus. They are people who immigrated from outside India, settled down in India, and they became Indianized to a very great extent, even adopting some Hindu features in their practice of their own religion. But Muslims and Christians are people who were Hindus, they are ex-Hindus who are converted to Christianity or Islam. So there is that distinction, and it is in fact for the purpose of further conversion that this classification of tribals as non-Hindus is emphasized. Now when did this whole thing start? That before going into it, we should find out when did it start classifying those people as non-Hindus. It started under the Britishers. When they were taking the census of India, at that time the certain missionaries pressed the need for declaring the tribals as non-Hindus so that they could go into those areas which were isolated areas away from the mainstream, and they could convert those people in large numbers. So they insisted that the government should classify them as non-Hindus, and the British government, which of course never went to the extent of the Portuguese, who, you know, as we know, in Goa they instituted the Inquisition, actually slaughtered people and destroyed temples. The Britishers never did that, but they had more subtle ways, like, you know, how they influenced people through education. In the same way, they had this subtle way of classifying people in the census as non-Hindus, and they insisted, they told the British commissioners of the census, you know, they had appointed each time a person who would conduct the whole census. He was the British commissioner of the census, and he was told that he must specifically classify the tribals as non-Hindus. Now the surprising thing is that this happened in 5 censuses from 1891 to 1931, and 4 censuses I think, no 5, and in each of them the British commissioners actually expressed disagreement with this. They clearly said that this is not correct, but we are forced to do it, so we are doing it. All of them without exception did this. For example, in 1891, the commissioner was J.A. Baines. He was told to classify them as animists, the tribals, and he clearly protested, and he said every stratum of Indian society is more or less saturated with animistic conceptions. These are his exact words. In the next census of 1901, Sir Herbert Hisley, he said that Hinduism was itself animism more or less transformed by philosophy, and he declared no sharp line of demarcation can be drawn between Hinduism and animism. But nevertheless, they were forced to, you know, classify it like that. Thirdly, in 1911, the commissioner was J.T. Martin. Now he also clearly said there is little to distinguish the religious attitude of the Gond or the Bhil from that of a member of one of the lower Hindu castes. Both are essentially animistic. It is obvious therefore that the term animist does not represent the communal distinction which is the essence of the census aspect of religion. So he clearly said that it was totally against the concept of the census. But nevertheless, he had to do it. In 1921, P.C. Talents was the commissioner. And he not only pointed out the difficulty of distinguishing a Hindu from an animist, but he said, I have no hesitation in saying that animism as a religion should be entirely abandoned, and all those hitherto classified as animists should be grouped with Hindus in the next census. So he very clearly declared that. In spite of that, the next census again continued with that same policy. And J.H. Hutton, the commissioner at that time, complained, the line is hard to draw between Hinduism and tribal religions. So you see, the very people who formed that policy were the politicians, the British politicians and rulers. But the actual academic aspect of it, the commissioners who were conducting the census, on every single one of these 5 censuses, the commissioners expressed a total disagreement with this policy and pointed out that they were being compelled to adopt that policy in classifying the tribals as non-Hindus. Now, the surprising thing is that this is the history of how these tribals in the first place came to be classified as non-Hindus. And yet, in post-independence times, we find that it is the Breaking India forces within India who have been pushing this to the extreme. I'll give 2 classic examples from the times, from 2 Indian newspapers, articles, which protest against Hindus, Hindu organizations, RSS, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, whatever, going and trying to prevent conversions or to bring back the converted tribals back into their original religions. The fact is that the Britishers have left, but they say that policy is now being continued by Indian politicians, what I already referred to as the Breaking India forces, the leftists, the Christian missionaries, all kinds of so-called secularists whose aim is to further, all secularists may not have that aim, but many of them do have that aim of supporting the Breaking India forces. Now, I'll quote 2 articles in 2 very prominent Indian newspapers to show how exactly the so-called intellectuals in the media portray this whole question of convergence. The first article is in the Times of India on 3/1/1987, and it is entitled The RSS Baits Church in Bihar Tribal Belt. This was about a report by the People's Union for Civil Liberties in the context of riots which took place in Jharkhand, presently Jharkhand, that time it was South Bihar, between Christian tribals and non-Christian tribals. Now I am quoting the article about that report, PUCL report. The article says, the report said that the missionaries had revolutionized the lives of poor tribals in the interior villages and turned them into proud men and women. RSS and other die-hard communal Hindu organizations had entered the arena. They were trying to appeal to non-Christian tribals in the name of Hinduism and organizing various Hindu festivals, it said. This, the report said, has given rise to the tension and conflict between the Christians and non-Christians, which suited the interest of the RSS. The report said the missionaries have also reacted to the RSS challenge in a spirit of retaliation. Just see this. The missionaries had revolutionized them by turning them into proud men and women. How? By telling them that their ancestral religion was satanic, that their ancestors worshipped devils, that their way of life was wrong. This is how they turned them into proud men and women. But what is the RSS doing? It is organizing Hindu festivals. So just organize, the Christians come and convert them from their ancestral religions, that is perfectly alright. But if the RSS goes and merely organizes Hindu festivals, it becomes the reason for tensions. And whatever the Christian missionaries do after that is described as a reaction to the RSS activities. Now this is, as I said, this is like, if the Pakistani army enters some border district of India, takes control of that region, and then the Indian army goes back and manages to drive them out. In the process, if this is described as, of course the Pakistanis will try to regain that territory. So this is described as the Pakistani army reacting to the Indian act. How would you consider this kind of a report? Now second is a report from the Indian Express of 11/10/98 called Converting History by Rajesh Sinha. Now I'll just quote that article. In the last 2 decades, religious organizations claiming monopoly over spiritual knowledge have moved into these parts and started branding the age-old ways that enabled people of different communities to live in harmony as corrupt, evil, or simply wrong. The uniqueness of the local culture is being obliterated by these outfits, which are painting religion in one uniform shade, advocating a way of life they claim represents true faith. In doing so, they are sowing the seeds of fundamentalism and seem to be quite happy doing it. Now, what do you think this is describing? This is just like a description of Christian missionaries, because they claim monopoly over spiritual knowledge. They move into different parts of the world. They brand the age-old ways of people as evil and wrong. And they try to paint everything in one uniform shade advocated by their religion. But surprisingly, this description is not about Christian missionaries. It is a description of people who are trying to reconvert the people back to Hinduism. So the conversion of the tribe people, and this is not about tribals, remember, conversion of those people to Christianity is being promoted as something which should not be touched. Hindus do not have a right to reconvert them, while the missionaries do have a right to convert them. Now, with this kind of an attitude, you can make out what kind of mentality is being portrayed by the secularist or anti-Hindu breaking India forces kind of mentality. Now, now we are in this talk, I am talking only about the tribals, not about other communities. So, how do you know whether a tribal is a Hindu or not? How do you know whether anyone belongs to a particular religion or not? When he declares it himself. And the Indian censuses after independence have recorded what the tribal people, you know, firstly there are the censuses which take all these figures. Secondly, there are certain tribes which have been declared as scheduled tribes in each state. So now see, we will see the figures for the scheduled tribes in each part of India. And this is based on the 2001 census. Secondly, it is all reported in a missionary site called the Joshua Project site, which gives us the people, ethnic people groups, religious figures for communities all over the world, not only in India. And it tells us those figures are accurate and regularly updated to encourage pioneer church planting movements among every ethnic group and to facilitate effective coordination of mission agency efforts. Now these people are not likely to tell lies, because for them it is a matter of life and death to get the exact data. Now let us see what they say. Firstly, there are the 4 states of South India. The South, here are the figures for the South: Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka. There are totally 88 tribes. The population of these tribes is 1,29,47,999 as per these figures. And of them, 97.19% have declared themselves to be Hindus. 97.19 is something amazing, because if you see the actual figure of Hindus in these 4 states for the total population, in Tamil Nadu it is 88.11, in Kerala it is 56.16, in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, which was one at the time, it is 89.01, and in Karnataka it is 83.86. But the tribals in these states, 97.19%, an overwhelming majority, declare themselves to be Hindu. Now we come to the western central states: Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, MP, Chhattisgarh. There are a total of 73 tribes. The population is 6 crores 47 lakhs 96,735. Here the Hindu people, percentage of tribals who have declared themselves to be Hindu is 97.65. Again, it is overwhelming. Only 4 tribes out of 73 have given figures less than 90%. That is also 86.78, 86.39, 83.60 and 64.34, which is one small tribe which has reported this low figure. Mainly, and all of this is of course because of Christian conversions. Now, not because there are some other non-Hindu tribals in that area. Now, compare this again, figure of 97.65% tribal Hindus to the figures in the state, general population of the state. In Maharashtra, it is 80.37% Hindu. In Gujarat, it is 89.09. In Rajasthan, 88.75. And in MP Chhattisgarh, it is 91.15. But the tribals are 97.65 Hindu in these states. Now we come to the northern heartland of India. Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Uttarakhand, which was formerly only UP, and Bihar. I am not talking about Jharkhand now, only Bihar, present day Bihar. Now, there are no tribals in Punjab, Haryana and Delhi. This is the only part of India where there are no scheduled tribes. The reason for it is very obvious. This Punjab, Haryana, Delhi was the area where the Vedic culture flourished. And the Vedic people were tribals of that area. Remember, all of us are tribals. We have evolved into castes from original tribes. And the Vedic tribes in that area developed the civilization, they became castes. As a result, there are no scheduled tribes in that area at all, no tribals. This is the only part of India, the area of the Vedic civilization where there are no tribals. Now in UP, Bihar also, there are very few tribals and they are spillovers from the neighboring areas. There is, Uttarakhand has tribals, mountain tribals, and they spill over into the UP area because it was formerly a part of that state. And in Bihar you have spillover from Jharkhand. So actually this is, northern heartland is a very almost tribal free area. Nevertheless, and the total population of tribals is only 12 lakhs 10,410 compared to over a crore in south and west. Now in this 12 lakhs 10,410, the Hindu percentage is 96.9. Only 3 tribes in Bihar are less than 90%, and the least is 83.35, again because of Christian conversion, not because they are non-Hindus. Now the Hindu percentage of total population in these states, these 3 states, UP, Uttarakhand and Bihar, is as follows. UP is 80.61 in 2001, Uttarakhand is 84.96 and Bihar is 83.23, and the total tribal percentage is 96.9. So now remember, what we have taken has covered the whole of India except the extreme north, that is Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and the east, that is Jharkhand, Orissa, Bengal and the northeast. If you look on a map of India, you will realize that it has covered a major part of the Indian space except these 2 corner areas. Now, in all these areas, the total tribals, if you combine all these areas, the total tribals who have declared themselves Hindu is 96%, over 96% in this full area, the major part of India. Now, why are these figures important? I mean, why is it important that the tribals' declaration of themselves as Hindus has to be taken as the fact? Firstly, because there are laws in India, Article 30 onwards, which are loaded against Hindus. Because of this, even mainstream Hindu groups like the Ramakrishna Mission, the Arya Samaj, now the Lingayats and various other people are wanting to declare themselves non-Hindus. This is a phenomenon which you find only in Hinduism. Like in Islam, the Shias say we are the true Muslims, and the Sunnis are not true Muslims, and vice versa. Similarly, in Christianity, you find Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox churches and various fundamentalist groups, all of them claiming to be the true versions of Christianity. Only in Hinduism you find sections which try to deny that they are Hindus. Now, this is surprising. Ramakrishna Mission, for example, was founded by Swami Vivekananda to counter the missionary work in respect of hospitals, educational institutions and other things. And Swami Vivekananda is the one who represented Hinduism in the World Parliament of Religions, if you remember. He is very famous for that particular incident. And yet that very organization went to court to get itself declared as non-Hindu. Now why was this done? It is because there are articles which are loaded against them. And here we cannot blame secular parties or leftist parties. Every single political party supports those articles. Even the present government, which is accused of being Hindu, has done nothing to change these articles. And in fact, in Rajasthan, the BJP government has, actually passed, went to court claiming that the temple lands belong to the government. And they acquired those lands. They managed to get the court to pass a resolution to that effect, a judgment to that effect. And they started selling off the temple lands. Now they would not have dared to touch Muslim or Christian lands. So the Hindu temple lands were targeted, acquired and sold off as government land. So now politicians generally have mercenary views, motives. Now they cannot touch Muslim and Christian lands, and they can touch Hindu lands. So why will they give up the one privilege that they have of looting someone? So that is the reason why no political party, whether it is Hindu or secular or leftist or even obviously Islamic, none of the parties will try to give Hindus the benefit of these articles. But because of this, Hindu groups are declaring themselves non-Hindu. In spite of that, you find 96%, over 96% of tribals in the overwhelmingly major part of India, they firmly declared themselves Hindu. Second is the secularist paradigm in India, which treats the word Hindu as a word of abuse. It's practically a word of abuse. If someone says, I'm a Hindu and this thing, immediately there is criticism. How can you call yourself a Hindu? Whereas a Muslim can very openly call himself a Muslim and speak for Islamic causes, and no one will say it is wrong. Or similarly Christians. Thirdly, tribals do not lose reservations after conversion. Now you know that scheduled castes, once they convert to another religion, they lose their, to Christianity and Islam, they lose their reservation rights for reserved seats. But tribals do not. Now because of this, there are many people belonging to scheduled castes who have converted to Christianity, who hide the fact. They are called crypto-Christians. They function as Christians, but in the census and in official this thing, they will give their names as Hindus, because they don't want to lose the reservations. In the case of tribals, this does not take place. Even if they become Christians or Muslims, they continue to get the reservations. So why will they lie and claim to be Hindus? There is no reason for them to do so. So in spite of that, they are claiming to be Hindus. Moreover, there have been reports, there have been reports about how Christian converts manage to corner all the reservations. So these very tribals, if they declare themselves Christians, they can be part of the cornered seats. But they don't even think of that, or maybe they haven't thought of it. In any case, they declare themselves Hindus. Finally, there is massive and unrelenting propaganda by leftists and missionaries insisting that tribals are non-Hindus. In spite of that, they declare themselves as Hindus. And finally, unlimited foreign funds, technical resources and coordinated organization is there behind the missionary activities. So seeing all these factors, in spite of that, the 96% of the tribals declare themselves to be Hindus. So this is something which simply cannot be denied by saying that maybe someone is doing mischief, maybe the officials who are taking the census are giving wrong figures. None of that applies here. Now, as I said, we have seen for the major part of India, the 4 South Indian states, the central and western states and the northern heartland. Now only 2 areas have been left out, the north, that is Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, and the east, Jharkhand, Orissa, Bengal and northeast. Now in the extreme north, as we know, that is that area is not Hindu even among the non-tribal people. It's a Muslim state, Jammu and Kashmir. And there is a spillover into Himachal Pradesh, although Himachal Pradesh is still a majority Hindu area. And there are common tribals between the 2 states. Now in that tribes, there are, even in Kashmir you will notice there are 3 areas, that is Jammu, which is predominantly Hindu, Kashmir, which is predominantly Muslim, and Ladakh, which is predominantly Buddhist. So similarly in the tribes also you find the same situation. 4 tribes, population 8,24,448 are 95.64% Muslims. 6 tribes, population 1,75,802 are 95.25% Buddhist. and 5 tribes, 2,77,950 are 89.55% Hindus. So you see there is a division, very clean division there. Again, there is nothing about non-Hindu tribals, they are merely converted people. The Hindus category 2, the Buddhists, and converted people, converted tribals who are converted to Islam in Jammu and Kashmir, in Kashmir. So that also does not fulfill the criteria of non-Hindu tribals. That leaves only the east, that is Jharkhand, Orissa, Bengal, and the northeast, which are two different stories. Firstly, let us take this area of the east, Jharkhand, Orissa, and Bengal. And here we come across the very first group of people in mainland India who declare themselves by some name other than Hindu. They call themselves Sarna. They claim their religion is Sarna and they give it in the census. Now, in the, if we see the population of these 3 states, the total tribal population, in Bengal, there are 81,45,081 tribes, 81 lakhs. Out of that, 74.6% still declare themselves to be Hindu. 17.1% declare themselves to be Sarna, 17, which is very high. And Christians converts are 6.1. Now remember, all these figures are for 2001. By 2011, the Christian percentage must have shot up in all these states. Now in Jharkhand, there are 70,87,068 tribals, of which 39.8%, and here we get the only state in mainland India where there is a minority of Hindus, declared Hindus, 39.8 in Jharkhand. And the Sarna is 45.1, and Christians converted are 14.5. In Orissa, you have 44 lakhs 6,000, of which 88.2 are Hindu, 4.2 are Sarna, and 7.4 are Christians. If you take the total of these 3 states, even then 65.09% have declared themselves to be Hindu, 24.31 have declared themselves to be Sarna, and 9.42 have declared themselves to be Christian. So it is clear that if you leave out the Sarna, Christian, it is mostly converted people. Now we come to the northeast. Here we can divide it into 2 sections. One is the Hindu states of Assam and Tripura, and the purely tribal states of Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh. Now here it is a pure Christian paradise, and I'll tell you, at that time, at the time of independence, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh did not exist. They were parts of Assam. But in Manipur, there were 11.84% Christians, 11.84, and in 2011 there were 41.29. So from 11 they have become 41, above 41. In Nagaland, there were only 46.05, only because now there are 87.93 in 2011. Now Mizoram was formed before 1981. In 1981 there were 83.81, already a big figure, and now it is increased to 87.16. In Meghalaya in 1961 there were 35.21, increasing progressively. Now there are 74, from 35 to 74, more than double. But the worst figures are in Arunachal Pradesh. In 1971 there was 0.79%, means not even 1%, 0.79% were Christians. In 2001 it was 18.72, and in 2011 it was 30.26, 30.26% Christians. And in the now in 3-4 years there will be one more census when they must have attained majority of above 50%. So this is a Christian paradise practically, because all the tribals have been converted to, majority of them have been converted to Christianity. Now in Assam and Tripura it's a different story. In Assam, the total tribal population is 33.08 lakhs, 33 lakhs 8,000. Of that again 90.7, so again you find the same trend which you find in mainland India, though slightly less, not 97 and 98, but still 90.7, which is very big compared to the Hindu percentage of Assam, which is around 60 or something. This is 90.7% of the tribals declare themselves to be Hindus, and only 0.1% declare themselves to be something else, and 8.8% are Christians. In Tripura, out of 31.99 lakhs, 80.1% have declared themselves to be Hindu. This is slightly less than the actual total Hindu population. Now, there are certain eastern tribes, tribes in this eastern area, that is Orissa, Jharkhand and Bengal, whom we all know to be tribals. Now, they also extend up to Assam, but they are not counted as tribals there. They are not counted listed among the scheduled tribes, so they are counted as general population. For example, the Munda, Santal, Oraon, Gond, Bhumij, Kharia, Kuikhond, Korwa, Korku and Ho. These are the biggest tribal populations of Orissa, Jharkhand and Bengal. In Assam, they are not counted as tribals. They have a population of 41.93 lakhs. Of that, 93.89 are Hindus. So the same people who are Sarna in this area, in Assam and where that Sarna movement, which is actually a movement which started in the last few centuries, has not spread there. So this is the situation all over the country. Now, as I said, if you leave out this east and northeast, that is, if you look on a map, you will realize it is only Jharkhand, West Bengal and Orissa and the northeastern states. Even there, except for this area, 96 to 97% of the population of the tribal population is Hindu in the rest of India. Now, even in this area, as I said, the population in Bengal, Orissa and Assam and Tripura, the tribal population is still above 80%. It is only in Jharkhand that we find this major religion, Sarna, which has around 60 lakh followers in Jharkhand and spread out in the neighboring areas also. 60 lakh people declare themselves to be Sarna. In Arunachal Pradesh, there is a local tribal religion called Donyi Polo. That has around 3,32,000 followers. In Meghalaya, most of the people have become Christians, but two of the tribes preserve an original religion of their own. The Khasis, 2,29,000 have a Khasi religion, and the Garos, 59,000 only are remaining, have a Garo religion. But Khasi religion is followed only by 17.91% of the Khasis, because over 80% have converted to Christianity. Similarly, the Garo religion, only 7.67% of the Garos follow it. 91%, over 91 have converted to Christianity. So you see which are the religions targeted by Christianity. It is not only Hinduism, it is these tribals who have a name also, not just the nameless tribal religions. Similarly, the Donyi Polo religion in Arunachal Pradesh, as I already pointed out, from less than 1% in 1971, it is above 30% Christians now in 2011. So obviously they are eating into the Donyi Polo tribes. Now, the facts about the Hindu three religions is that, except in name, these religions do not differ from the people within that same tribe who declare themselves to be Hindu. For example, this Sarna religion, I'll give you the names of 6 tribes where the Sarna religion is claimed by more than a third of the population. For example, Santals in Jharkhand alone. In Jharkhand, which is the center of the Sarna religion, there are 30 lakhs 48,000 Santals, of which 60% call themselves Hindu and 34% call themselves Sarna. Oraon are 16 lakhs, of which 31% call themselves Hindu and 52% call themselves Sarna. The Mundas are 12 lakhs, of which 29,000% call themselves Hindu and 48% call themselves Sarna. In the Ho tribe, 89% call themselves Sarna and 8% call themselves Hindu. In Bhumij, 58% call themselves Hindu and 40% call themselves Sarna. And the Asur tribe, which is the smallest of them, only around 14,000, 23.90% call themselves Hindu and 60% call themselves Sarna. The point is that in the same tribe, you find a shifting difference between the Sarna and the Hindu. And if you see the actual practices, you see that it is practically almost the same, except that the Sarna people now, after they have taken on that name, they congregate in a separate place and perform those same rituals which the others are also performing as Hindus. So this is the thing. What are the Hindu three religions? You know, the constitution legally classifies a third section of Hindus who are not Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh and Jain. Now these are the only 5 religions. In Jharkhand and surrounding areas you have Sarna, and in the northeast you have these small sections Doni Polo, Khasi, Meitei and Garo. Beyond that, no other tribal has declared himself to be a non-Hindu. This is the fundamental fact, and yet this classification is being used to say that tribals as a whole are not Hindus and they can be converted to Christianity. This ends the first part of the talk about the figures.